Next speaker is Sue Kahn, and following her, I'm trying to read this, Bob Stilberg. Okay.
Good evening. It's been a long time since I've been up here, but I've been up here many times in the past because of the actions of the board or the inconsiderate actions generally of the board. And I hate to say that once again I'm forced to come here because I find your actions inconsiderate of the community. And really, quite frankly, inconsiderate because, as many of the speakers previously have said, you owe more than just a legal obligation to this community. You owe a moral and an ethical obligation. And that moral and ethical obligation means that you go through specific processes to get to a decision like this. And if through that process, the decision is the decision to sell it to this particular entity, then so be it. But at least go through it. I know that you received the letter from the attorney. I have a copy. But one of the things that I'm most concerned about is the Open Meeting Act exemption. And for those who don't know, it's section 15.268 that speaks specifically to those items which can only be talked about in closed session. And going through the board agendas, I find that you do not specify at the end of your agendas which specific exemption you're having closed sessions about. The last few meeting agendas only speak to negotiations. About what? Why do you not reference? How do we know what actually went on in those meetings? I mean, based on what I see here tonight, based on past performance, it leads me to wonder why we don't know what the exemption was. You can specify it's exemption A, B, C, D, E, and so forth. There is no exemption in the law that allows for closed session discussions of the sale of property by the district. So I am hoping that that has not happened, but there is no indication in your agendas that that didn't. So I have no way to be absolutely certain that that hasn't happened. I also would like to reference, and I don't know if anybody else is going to do this tonight, but there are emails that went back and forth to Ron Ayton from that specifically says that the person who is doing the appraisal, this is the gentleman doing the appraisal vehicle, no one really knows we are having the property appraised. And you know, for purposes of appraisal, confidential, our firm would like to engage you to provide the appraisal on the subject. The user will be acquiring the property to be used as a cultural center. The site location is challenging for no. I mean, there's all sorts of things that makes me wonder why you started this. I can't believe the board didn't know about it in January. And it wasn't until May that we were informed what actually went on in those 4 months in between. Let's have an open process. That's something that has not traditionally happened, although you did talk about it tonight in a lot of your slides there, engaging the community, want us to be part of it. You took the time to do a survey of demolition to report that 62% of the respondents were in favor or supported or somewhat supported the demolition of the site. You can't take that same time to do a $1.1 million sale. You have a policy that says for property worth $5,000 or more, you have to acquire sealed bids. You're selling a major piece of real estate in this district, and you can't even go through a similar process. I really don't. I mean, I guess it's the same old, same day, different day. Thank you.
Mr. Stolberg will be followed by Bradley, is it Scoble, I believe, of Covington Club Apartments in Farmington Hills, who will be followed by Mel Stern. But let me comment about a couple of things that Ms. Kahn said. The minutes of the sessions that were closed sessions reflect the exemption, if my memory serves me correctly, and they were all for ongoing negotiations because, as you probably have been aware, we were dealing with the issue of potential privatization of some of our services, and we had fairly regular meetings, as we did tonight for the same purpose, to discuss negotiations, how to proceed, our strategies, all of which are exempt and proper subjects. We did not have any closed meetings for the purpose of discussing the sale of this building in violation of the Open Meetings Act. We were aware of it. Our attorney advised us about it and reminded us about it, and therefore we wouldn't do it. With respect to the board policy that Ms. Kahn references, although I don't have the number at the top of my head, I do not believe that that policy applies to the sale of real estate. In fact, we have a policy that specifically applies to the sale of real estate, and that policy was adhered to the letter. Mr. Silberg, welcome.